Good morning everyone, welcome to my channel. So I haven't done any more stitching on the pink mood board because when I finished filming the video where we constructed it, and technically I should have gone away and stitched, I decided to turn the camera back on because we were talking about these two pieces rolling over onto the page underneath. So what I mean is, let me just put another couple pins in that. Those edges not get trimmed and they become part of the design for the next piece. So for example, that wraps under there, so we don't cut it. And then we have our next mood board having these little morsels come around to greet it. So I decided to turn the camera on and film the next mood board. Now I'm just looking for my pen. The next mood board, and then I guess tonight I've got two I can stitch, and then we just got one more to go. So there you go, I'm back with having done nothing on the red pink one. We're going to call it pink on the pink one. So in my journal, there'll be one signature. How do I explain this? Here's a piece of fabric. Let's pretend that that gets folded into half and stitched into the spine, and that becomes the foundation for these mood boards. So Mr. Blue would be stitched onto there. So then you'd flip it open and you would put your next two and then the last one. So then this is caught within the pages of the mood board. So what I was thinking in that last video is Mr. Pink would be on the back, and then this guy that I'm about to do would be here, and then these little elements would come, and when it all gets stitched together, they would drift onto this piece. So just another way of bringing a slow stitch piece that you're creating and linking it, is what I'm trying to say, into the next piece that you make. So I thought I'm going to turn the camera on and I'm going to create the next one. So we've got two choices. We can do a neutral or we can do the purple. Let's have a look at the purple. I sort of want to, because I think if we're flipping through it, we could have the blue one as the greeting page. Then you flip it open and we have a neutral, we have the purple, and on the back we have the pink. So let's get rid of all of the pinks and just look at the purples. Now the other thing with purple, well really with all of them, there's an opportunity to bring green into all of them, which I think I'll need to, just to, especially if I want to do embroidery. So just look at this green colour here. If I want to do some embroidery on her that's floral, having access to greens, I think it'll be definite. And this appley green will go with all of it. So we'll just put that to one side. Like, look at that for a piece to embroider. Gosh, you could have some fun with that. Let's put that there. And see. Oh, see, there's some of that fabric. That was there. That is that nasty, dense fabric. Try not to use it. Oh yes, that's pretty. That's pretty. See, now this one works with that. That's pretty. Oh yes. Oh, it's good when you know that there's a few fabrics that you really like, and they reappear. So let's cut a piece of this, I think. I really like that. Now, if you've watched, say, the beginning, now we're going to remember that this doily is going to come up and over it. Yep, that works. So the doilies aren't an issue. If you've watched at the beginning of this and you're wondering why I'm working on calico and you haven't seen the videos last, yes, I cut some beautiful linen to be my base, but after doing the blue one, I realized that I covered it completely with all of the fabrics. So I pretty much wasted a piece of beautiful linen in behind. So here they are here, the three. I'm keeping them for a rainy day. They will have something done with them another day because it was just a waste. So what we'll do is, because we're considering these doilies coming over like that, I'm just going to put my piece here and have a look at what could go next. Yeah. I'm going to put some spot in next. So everyone was like, blue, blue. Honeybear wants a blue dress. And then after we did this particular page, there's definitely some comments coming through saying, oh, well, pink would be nice too. So you're not helping, guys. To me, that's too bright. I'm going to try and play with this real dark one, I think. Let's get a bit of this up here. So I've rejected this fabric in the blue, see there, and the red. It was just not quite right, but I actually like it. Isn't that funny? I do like it for this panel. So I think we'll put a nice piece of that. Even if I don't use purple on her, I'm going to play with this purple piece of fabric because for some reason, and I'm not a purple girl at all. Well, I say that, but I do, I don't know. I'm an everything girl. So we've used that one. I do like that. I don't know why, they're so different, but oh, isn't that pretty? Do we need something plainer first? Get a bit of a stripe in here. Isn't the rule that just stripes go around your body makes you look bigger? So stripes going up and down are better. So Honeybear, who has a rotundous figure, stripes going up and down would be better. So we need to take that into, don't tell me that's a fold. Oh no, that's the fold up there. I was so pleased with her little pinafore. I think we did that in video number 2. I started talking about the pattern that I could use for her and started making her little dress. And definitely that was a concern for me that, you know, can I seamstress a dress? Because I haven't made clothes for a long time. So I'm just going to see what that looks like. Oh, yeah. See, that will come from the other side. That'll look really pretty. So having these two plainer fabrics for these doilies to creep onto, I think will work really well. Okay, so what's left? There's another plain fabric. So don't mind that. I know I went to that, but I do like that. Maybe that's a strip through. You know, it's got lines on it, so I could probably just pinch a small piece of it. And to get that shape, but only a couple of the flowers. Just bear with me, guys, as I muck around here. Yeah, I like that. And then I just have to find something for up there. Okay, so where's that selvage? Because I could cut that edge. And how tall? I'll take the whole. So if you were out and about and you picked up a pack of fabric that all complemented each other, that caught your eye, you can make a slow stitch series where you celebrate all of those fabrics, and the designer has put them together for you. You are guaranteed a beautiful piece of work because a designer has done it for you. So it takes a bit of the stress off of the, you know, you having to put it together. I wonder if that should go underneath. It's a bit funny here. It's sort of a bit, but if I do that, I've got two lines together. And then it's funny here, but if I brought that down to there, yeah, I think that needs to be a big piece right through. Let's just take that off. I'll leave it at that for now. We're going to assume we're going to cut it there, and maybe I do a lot of feature stitching in there. So let's have a look at this top corner. Now that this is decided, no. Let's just double check this guy. I don't think it'll work. No. I could certainly changes it up, but I don't think I'm going to be using this piece, but that's okay because I think I need to save it for a rainy day. I can see all sorts of activities on that, and it's such a big print. I think I'd struggle to do it justice because I don't have the space to put such a big piece, and if I did, it'd nearly be the whole piece and then a little bit around. But being we're doing a mood board, I sort of want to showcase the fabrics. So we've done that. The only one left is this, and I don't like that. Okay. Do we put a bit of green in? Yeah. Do we just pop a little piece of green up there. Why not? I do want to use green on Honeybear. So I think we're going to do it. Do I work a flower in up there? See, they're so big. I don't think it's gonna work unless there's some floral over here that, oh, that's beautiful. That stitched would be so pretty on her dress. So I don't want to take that because it's sort of nibbling into that. Let's have a look at the other piece. Maybe there's something. I know that's not the right colours, but oh boy, I like it. That rose. Do we make a feature? Oh gosh, it's hard, guys. Okay. All right, I'm gonna pause the video for a moment. I just need to go to the front door. Oh, I gotta go. Stop fiddling, girl. All right, gotta go. Back in a minute, guys. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. I was just thinking about this flower and I've gone off the idea because that's gonna come across it. So that location is an issue for me. This location isn't big enough to do it justice. And I was actually poking it with my needle and it's quite a dense fabric. And I think it'd be difficult to embroider. Like it could be done, but I'd have to use a very sharp, fine needle to pull it off. So I just don't know if I'd want to invest the time into that. So what I'm going to do is I still want to bring a little bit of green into this. So I'm going to cut a piece out of here. I don't think I want any purple. I think I just want the solid green, just as because at the end of the day, we're making a mood board. So I just want that to appear somewhere to be considered when doing the project. I've got this green up there just to say, all right, well, if you're struggling for a colour combination, maybe a hint of green, or you're doing some embroidery, green can come into it. So I just want that little piece there. Now I can afford to cut this off. So maybe to balance my page, look, I'm all skew-whiff. Maybe to balance my page, I can bring a little bit of green elsewhere. Here comes Pepper as she comes running past, having a little woof. Now, I'm just gonna, if you've ever got a selvage piece that you want to use, but you want to get rid of the little dots, just grab a pin and just massage the fibers, because it's just the little grippers that hold the fabric onto the big loom have created the little holes. So you can just use a pin head and just massage the fibers and you can make those little holes disappear. So don't ever think you've got to cut the selvage off because of those little holes. And when it comes to slow stitch pieces, like by the time you, oh, thanks Pepper. Thanks Pepper. Off you go, girl. So they're getting rough again. And so there'll be a blue. Well, it's not exactly a blue. They just Pepper says, enough, Bandit, you're getting rough. And he immediately drops to the ground, cowers down, if to say, okay, okay, I'm a good boy. She is so the boss of him. Okay. That's it. I don't know why I'm mucking around with this. But get rid of the little holes. I sort of feel like I need to bring a little bit more green in. So I'm just going to do that. Maybe that. Just a pop of colour. Okay, so let's get some pins in. This is really good quality fabric. I can tell because there's a lot of threads used in it, so it's quite dense. It's beautiful fabric. It'd last and last if you made a quilt out of this, which is probably what it's really intended for. You would not be disappointed. So I've got this little piece left. Let's cut that. So I won't, maybe I should finish my sentence so you know what I'm thinking about. I need to invisible stitch. And I'm wondering if I should waste my time, or your time, but go straight into laying some pretty things down. But I'm going to invisible stitch, guys. I'm sure we'll have enough time. We've got 45 minutes minus 5 minutes. All right, let's just get a few key spots done. And then emails are starting to drop in. My work day is going to start very shortly. Okay, so that's now secure. Get rid of him. So like I said in the last video, I'm not sure if you guys are watching this consecutively or it's scattered in amongst other videos. It is pre-recorded because I sort of needed to get it done due to some work commitments. So I thought, oh, I'm just going to get into it and get these mood boards made. Plus two, it's helping me clarify my thoughts for the project. So I hope it makes sense. I'd say it'll be consecutive. I would say you've watched this for a couple of days in a row now. Oh, come on. See, the moment I not concentrate, it goes pear-shaped. Well, so far reading the comments on the previous videos, you're still very much a fan of the blue. I don't know. At least I'm playing with all the colours now and I'm getting them out of my system a little bit. Okay. I'll just scoot along the bottom of this big piece, get rid of that little pin. Oh, now I've unthreaded the needle. Seriously? Oh, it's going to be one of those days. I can feel it. we're getting some more shipping containers into our stores of Christmas products. So we're busy. Got plenty of staff on, so I don't have to actually do too much heavy work. I can just direct the traffic. Oh dear. Gone are the days of throwing around Christmas trees. I did it last year a little bit too much. I was lifting them up onto some pallet racking, and I must have torn a muscle in my shoulder because it's taken probably 8 months for that shoulder to relax and not have pain. I thought maybe it was because of my stitching, but I don't think it was. If anything, the stitching didn't help my recovery, but I think it was the lifting of the tree boxes. So we're talking a Christmas tree box the size of an average human, usually around 15 to 30 kilo. And I was loading them onto pallets that were already up on the pallet racking. So I was having to lift them above my head sometimes and shove them up onto a pallet that was already may have had a few boxes on it already. And it was just an awkward spot because usually I'd do it off of a forklift and lift them up, being up on a cage within the forklift. But we were in a hurry and I was like, oh, I'll just throw them up there. So I did it, but that just throw it up there routine lasted most of the day because we were sort of at gridlock in the warehouse for moving the forklift easier. So it was just simple for me to grab a ladder, climb the ladder, lift the tree box up and then pop it up onto the racking, which I've done a million times. But when you only do it once a year when the stock arrives, you can get a little sore. And every year I bounce back, no problems. But that season, the last year, I did it too many times and I've strained a muscle on that one shoulder, my right shoulder, which is the working hand for stitching. So I was always getting this ache. It'd go for a while, then it'd come back. It was like this little injury. And I reckon that's what did it. And then stitching didn't help. You know, it's not like I was getting complete rest. So I promised myself this year, when the Christmas tree shipping containers arrive, that I would A, get someone to help me, and B, not touch them. Because, yeah, just find that the old muscles don't bounce like they used to. You know, you'd 3 days and you'd be feeling fine again. Like, roll back 10 years and I'd unload shipping containers all day, and I definitely keep up with the men. I work pretty hard, so I can sort of work side by side with any lad. And 3 days you'd have a bit of pain, you know, aches and pains and that, but it always came good. But now, yeah, when you're not doing it all the time, we only get stock in at this time of the year to have to, you know, get into our warehouse ready for the season. So you might do a shipping container, then it'll be 2 weeks later, another one will come in. So you'll be throwing boxes around again. And it just, the recovery time is not the same. I'm getting old, guys. It's quite depressing. Especially when your brain is like, oh yeah, I'll just throw those 7 trees up there on that pallet. And that job's then done, you know, instead of heading out of the warehouse, walking across to the shop, finding a staff member that can help, or finding your husband who's whizzing around on a forklift and say, hey, can you come to the warehouse? There's 7 trees that need to go up on the racking. I just go and do it. Not this year. I cannot afford an injury to my stitching arm. Oh, could you imagine? No. I said to my husband, I might even just stay away because I know it'll happen. I get in there and I thoroughly love that type of, you know, just get in there and do it. Oh, these really dense fabrics. I'm really struggling to get the needle through. So yeah, I said to hubby, I might just stay home and stitch, because I just know I'll be mucking around. There we go. Decided to whiz all the way down there. I'll finish that off because that's not going anywhere. But it's fun when all the stock arrives. The next lot of containers are going to be the better ones because they have decorating elements. So our factory that makes all of my flowers, he's done the order. It's a lovely old fella. He's an old boy, and his son and daughter are now running the factory, but the old boy is often around. And when we first started our business, he was our point of contact, and we actually found him. Look, I'm going off on a tangent now. We were in the shop. We were working. At that stage, we only had the one Christmas store, and a young girl came in, a Chinese young girl, and she said, oh, I'm a student. I'm currently studying in Brisbane. I live at Sunnybank. I just spotted your Christmas store and I had to come in and show you some photos of my parents' business in China. I'm like, oh yeah. And she showed me the showroom of flowers, and oh my goodness. It was poinsettias and magnolias as far as the eye could see. Plus heaps of stuff. So we had our agent in China that sort of takes us all over the place. So I sent him the details of the factory, and he says, oh, he said, I don't know that factory. It's really remote. To get there from Hangzhou was close to an 8-hour flight, and then once you got to that city, you would then sit on a train for another 3 hours. So it was, you know, a good day of travel just to get to the factory. Anyway, he said, but having said that, chatting to everyone around in the business, it is a very good factory and very reasonably priced, and they would certainly sell to you being a little guy. You know, I don't buy a lot of everything. I need factories that are happy to make me a couple hundred of things, where the average factory in China, they want you to purchase thousands of items. And they're sort of, I don't blame them, because they might make 5 things for the whole year, but they'll make 22,000 of each of them. And that's enough work for the factory to function. So I come along and say, I want 400 of this, 300 of that. So my shipping containers are full of 20, 30 different items, but in low numbers. So I'm actually quite annoying, to be honest. So a lot of them say, no, off you go. So it takes a bit to find factories that are happy to entertain myself. So anyway, long story short is the next year, we made the epic trip out to the factory to meet this gentleman, and he was so excited to see us because we had chatted to his daughter who was studying here in Brisbane. And it was not a big city, it was a very large town, and it was a town that was just being developed. So when we got off the plane, we were picked up by a factory car, and we went straight to this restaurant. And we're like, oh, we want to go to the showroom. We have spent most of the day traveling to get here. We just want to get in there, do the work, and then we've got a flight out 3 hours later. And so it was like a 24-hour journey, basically, to get there. So next minute, we're at this restaurant. We're like, oh, yes, we're hungry, but we don't have time. I want 3 hours in this flower factory. I'm going to need every second of it to pull together a bit of a range. No, we've got to have this meal. And all these people arrive for the meal. So we're at a big circular banquet table, Chinese restaurant. And there was like this man walked in with about 4 others as like an entourage. And we're like, what's going on? This is odd. So our agent was chatting to them all, and the dad of the owner of the factory, dad, and this one son and this entourage were around this huge table. There's probably about 15. My husband and I and our agent, and we're like, mate, we got to get going. We got to go. And I'm getting really antsy because I won't eat. I've just got to get to the factory. Give me a packet of crisps and a couple Mars bars, and I'd keep going. Anyway, we're sitting there, and this whole meal is brought out, and there was a carton. Now, I'm talking 12 bottles of wine were delivered to the room from some chateau in France. And I was like, come on. Like, I don't drink, very little drinking. You can't stitch and drink. It's just too dangerous. I'm heading to the French laces while we chat. I'm feeling like a bit of French lace on this. So anyway, we spent probably an hour there while this food just kept coming, the alcohol, and all these men were drinking, and I'm like the only girl. I'm like, come on, I want to go do some work. And it turned out that the gentleman and the entourage was the local mayor. So business was so important to that community there, and the factory boss, Dad, had mentioned that his daughter had chatted to us, and we had come all the way from Brisbane, and the mayor was like, oh, well, we have to, you know, spoil them. We have to, you know, treat them well, which they did. So I was like, okay, Corrine, just play the game, be polite, have the meal, and then get out of there. So that was our experience at the flower factory, and that was what, 18 years ago, and ever since I buy my flowers just from that factory. Dad will make me anything I want. He is just so accommodating. I'm trying to make this lace work. I'm looking at this piece here. I'm thinking if I cut it off, I can break it down. Do I want to cut it off? Yes, I do. So yeah, I've been a customer ever since. They did not need to spoil me with that meal. They had me sold at just the photos. I'm going to go higher. They had me sold at the photos of the showroom. They did not need to buy a carton of very expensive French champagne or whatever it was. I had a sip. You can't shop for Christmas stock and drink at the same time. Do you imagine how much money I'd spend if I went into a showroom inebriated? Is that the right word? Drunk? So I had big plans for stitching all that, but I don't know. I just looked up at the TV and that has just disappeared. Here it looks really good, but when I look at the screen, it doesn't look right. It needs a contrast. So if that come across, that could go over it. I like that. So that means I'm going to get rid of this little flower. So anyway, we finally get to the factory. I had 2 hours and 10 minutes in the factory due to that meal, you know, and we literally stood up and said, sorry to be rude, but we have to go. And factory dad, he could see that, you know, the old mayor was really going to make a meal of it. So he ended up apologising, saying I could see Corrine was very uncomfortable with that whole scenario and really wanted to just get busy. But it was a great experience. The factory was amazing. They were so friendly. I'm just tucking that bit in there. I know to you it probably looks like it's lost, but it looks a bit better where I am. So that will come across. That will come up. Yeah, I like that. So I'm just going to invisible stitch this down a little bit. So I ended up picking a fantastic range, and a lot of those original flowers are still in our range because they were so popular with the customers that I just had to hit repeat every year. Occasionally the factory or the dad would say, Corrine, there's new glitter. Would you like us to reinvent this particular flower? We could sprinkle glitter and beads on every second petal. He would sometimes present a new lacy type product, like a fabric, and he'd say, what about every third petal we swap it out with this see-through lace that's got glitter all over it. So we've had a lot of fun creating products with him. His daughter now is back in China and she is running part of the production, and the son is there. So the old fella is now technically retired. So yeah, we've really got to know the family. A lot of our factories are like that. We sort of get to know them, and especially if they're happy to put up with me. I get to these showrooms and they'll show me their latest creations. So it might be the 2023 range that they're hoping to sell to all of their clients that come to visit the showroom. And often that might not be quite what I'm looking for. So they let me rat around in old showrooms and boxes, and they'll bring out a heap of boxes of past items and let me rummage through them. I've been into cupboards and rummaged, and they just think it's hilarious. You know, they just see me bum hanging out of a cupboard where I'm ratting through old samples, and I'll find like a squirrel that catches my eye, and then I'll head out to the main showroom and say, well, you're making this particular flower. Do you still have the mold for the squirrel? Yes. Well, let's put those flowers on this squirrel because I don't really like the squirrel that you're doing now. I prefer the old squirrel. So they're really accommodating. So it's quite fun. And now, at this time of the year, the containers are starting to arrive. So the next lot will have Old Man Flower, that's his nickname, we call him. Old Man Flower's order in it. And the baubles. We've got a lovely family that own the bauble factory that we know. And our string sets. Oh, he's great too. He's about my age, young fella. And his business, oh boy, they make all of the Christmas lights for pretty much the planet. It is huge. He's one of 3 production houses that are huge. Oh, his showroom factory is massive, just massive. That young fella, and he started it himself when he was 19, I think it was. He was an engineer for another company and then went out and started making his own lights. His business would be putting through millions a year, millions and millions. Very, very, very big. And he's hilarious. He speaks really well English, educated. His business is just going from strength to strength. He's just fantastic. He can make really good quality lights for us. And then if some of the big boys come in, I won't mention names, but you can imagine the bigger retail outlets that sell Christmas lights, they'll come in and say, no, 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 we want to buy the lights for $3 a set and sell them for, you know, $9.95. Where when we go in there, we say, no, give us the lights that your engineers made. We want those because we want the lights to last for our customers. So he's hilarious, but he's just bought a Winnebago. We rocked up to the factory. Gosh, I'm going off on a tangent. We rocked up to the factory to make our selection for this particular year, and there was a huge Winnebago parked in the car park, and that is not a sight you see in China. And he comes running out, and he's like, oh, look, 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 you must see. Have you seen one of these? I'm like, yes, they're pretty popular in our country. And he goes, oh, I said, my family, we go holidaying And we were just laughing. He's like, next minute the door's open and he's up the steps and he's in there and he's pushing buttons and bits are coming out from the side of this Winnebago, and he's got all the bells and whistles. And he's like, oh, look, 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 the side comes out and the bed goes out, and like he had top of the range. And he said, look, the TV comes up and from out of the floor, and oh, he said, this is like holiday house. We go camping. And I'm like, yeah, yep. It was funny, really funny. Could you imagine, like if you've ever seen videos of Beijing or Shanghai or, you know, any of their big cities, it's just chaos. But you never see a Winnebago, let alone, you know, a car and a caravan. Well, yeah, it's coming. Could you imagine the chaos of a heap of Winnebagos? Heap of Winnebagos going through the streets of Beijing. It just cracks us up. We're like, we're here to do work. No, 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 you look at my Winnebago. Do you have Winnebago? And we're like, no, I don't have a Winnebago, but I know what you got there. It was pretty funny. We go to national parks and holiday in our Winnebago. So we never do that. We now holiday. So, yeah, China's really changing. So there you go. I've gone off on a tangent now. My other job, my bread and butter, as they say, allows me to buy fabric and lace and trimmings. So it's fun unpacking the containers, because that's when I go shopping for Christmas products for our Christmas stores. And it's fun because you get to know the factory owners and their families, and because we've been doing it for many years, we've watched their young people grow up and often come to Australia and study business and then go back and take over from the old boy and run the factory. So it's a real pleasure to be part of that, watching their growth, especially when they're small production factories. Like our Christmas tree factory was like that. He was an average size factory, and we went through so many Christmas tree factories to try and find some good ones, because boy, there's Christmas trees and there's Christmas trees out there. And we come across this fellow, and our agent, he tested him for a few years with some of his UK customers, and they had hardly any faults, and it was just good quality. So he was then happy to take me to the showroom, and we never looked back. And they allow me to develop new trees and play with lights on trees, and if I want to adjust the colour of a tree, or say I've got a customer that comes to me in Australia and says they need gold trees for a big display, or, you know, whatever, this factory will help me create the gold tree for my customer. So it's really good. And he was a boutique manufacturer, but now he is a big manufacturer, and he still helps us. They're very loyal like that. If you stick with them, they will stick with you. And I know I'd be an annoying customer now because he's so big. But they tend to take my order, which might be, say, 2 40-foot containers of Christmas trees. And in the Chinese world, that's small compared to someone that would come along and order 50 40-foot shipping containers. But he will still do my order, and he will still make special orders, because he runs my order through at the beginning of his production season so that his staff can, I guess, refresh themselves, because often the factory's shut down and only open for, say, 4 months or 3 months to make all the stock. So he will use our little order as a practice run. And if he's had to hire new staff, those staff will learn the skills needed to do ow, that was a needle in me. Those staff will, you know, learn what they need to learn on our order. So he's always said, don't worry about your order. We will still do your order because it gives us a chance to, you know, get ourselves ready for the big orders. So, which is fantastic. Makes sense. We're the trainee order for everyone. Bandit's just walked past the window with a stick that would be about 1 metre wide. He looks silly. He's a silly boy. So I'm still stitching here. I'm just yabbering and stitching. I really do like this piece too. It's very pretty. I don't have a lot of purple threads, so I don't know how well I'm going to go pulling together a purple range, but beige would definitely be beautiful and not look out of place. And I've got a little bit of my French lace featured in this one. So the French lace will work on all of those pieces, on all those colour schemes. The pink, the blue. So, yeah. Honeybear, you will get some vintage lace on you. A treasure. We've got a little bit going into this journal, which will be good. Okay. So I guess I might just peruse the doilies again. So let's look at the side here. That guy will go there. Let's see if we need some additional doilies to help marry it all together. I could go there. And then we've got this little guy coming up here. So I could do something through. Nope. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like that. That hides that dead end. See, it stops. Let me just zoom in. The lace just stops there. So I'll go back out. Probably made you sick then as I shot you straight in. That can go there and that will come up. So that's good. This guy will come from the side. And it might even be, yeah, that's really good. Where's some more little ones? Got some little half pieces. Could do something tricky with that. Yep, I like that. That's pretty good. I don't think I want to go too much more than that because I'm going to start overpowering this antique lace. As it is, you're not seeing this piece down here. It does look good, trust me, but I probably wouldn't want to add too much more bulky pieces because it's going to, yeah, overpower, I believe. I think with just some stitching in the background, it'll come together. So I might just keep going and secure these doilies down, and then I can always come back and stitch them down properly, but at least I'll get rid of the pins. So being that it's just an invisible stitch, it's just a case of grabbing to the center of that little morsel. It's not going to go anywhere then. and I can get rid of the pin. I can still lift it up to get stitches in behind as I start laying down decorative stitches. Well, today's video, you got a snapshot of my business world and the fun I get when I get to go over to China and see. Oh, you should see the ribbon factory. Oh my gosh. The ribbon is made up of usually organzas and velvets, satins and silks and all sorts. And they're huge bolts of fabric. And then they slice them down and edge them in wire that's embroidered over, well, yeah, stitched over to create wire edge ribbons. And they can do them in any size and any fabric. So I get to go into these halls of fabric. It's just, oh. Especially the velvets. Oh, they're just beautiful. And we use the ribbon to make big voluptuous bows for our Christmas trees. It's an easy fill for a Christmas tree to make some nice big bows to sit on your tree. So we do a lot of that, and then we decorate wreaths and garlands for customers or make them and sell them in the stores. So the ribbon is just, it's like the glue for us. It's a very big part of our business. And then all the flowers from Old Man Flower, and then the baubles from the Bauble Boys, the two lads that own the bauble factory. So shopping for all of those elements is excellent fun. We've missed them for a while due to the whole COVID thing. We were going every year to China, but when COVID struck, that was the end of our gallivanting. And it sort of forced businesses to think about different ways of selling their products to the outside world. So now we do a lot of ordering, and we just don't get back to the factory because they've pretty much adjusted the way they present their products to me. And yeah, it's so far we haven't really had to go back. We really should go back because it would be good to see everyone again. It's been 3 years since we've been to China, if you count the 2 years of the COVID crazy. And then I'm going to go back to this piece and just spend a few minutes stitching these bits on. Yeah, if you count the COVID crazy, it's been 3 solid years. So we really should look at going probably next year and saying hello to everyone and go ratting through their cupboards and create some new squirrels. This is not a big enough knot, not a big enough piece of cotton. We must be getting close to our goodbye time. I think I said 45 minutes, so just pop a few stitches in these, get rid of the pins, and then I can relax into doing a little bit of stitching on them. And I will be back. We have one more mood board to create for Honeybear. Which will be neutrals. Might really play with lace because the neutrals by themselves I can't imagine are going to be too exciting for Honeybear. She's not gonna like them. But if we throw a heap of lace at it, we've really explored doilies, so they're going to work really well with her outfit, whatever colour she chooses. But we might go digging through some laces, I think. Or maybe I can come up with something else that can be an element. Might just end that thread off. I don't want to jump too far, but I do want to go across to another doily. There we go. So I can take that pin out. Take that one out. Can scoot down. Oh, don't start, you pair of gooses. There's like a patio directly behind me, so their barks just reverberate through that zone. I don't even know if that's a word, but anyway, it sounded good. And of course they come running up from being down the back of the block and give it a big woof. I guess they're saying hello to you guys. We can look at it that way, I guess. So I can now get rid of that pin. So we'll just do these few. I should let you go because we'd be coming up to the hour. But I'm not letting you go. We're going to finish this. Then I know it's done. And I can then go start my day and know that when I get home, I can do some stitching. I may not, you know. No, I will. Depends how many Christmas trees I throw around today. So I mentioned yesterday's video, which you watched the day before, that I had a container of Christmas trees to unload. But I'm not going to. The girl can't do that as much as she would like. Not if she's going to stitch without a sore shoulder from throwing Christmas trees around. Okay, one more. So I'm just catching it in the middle. So I'm rushing and now I'm catching it. That's good. I think we've got a good starting point. Just this little guy next. See, I'm rushing. I should let you go, but I'm not. I'm going to thread this needle and finish, and then we can all go together. So stay put. No one move. There we go. One more stitch. That's not going anywhere. All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining me. Thanks for putting up with me. I really prattled on today. But that's what's happening in my world. And if you want to know what I get up to when I'm not here in front of you stitching, that is it. Getting ready for Christmas. I'll leave it at that because I think I'm going to lift that piece off and stitch underneath it and then lay it down, so there's no use invisible stitching that down. All right, so that's going to work a treat. That will come onto there. That will come up from the previous side to there. So they will be in my little journal as a set. And then there will be another one here, and then on the front, as it opens, you'll be greeted by the blue one at this stage. I don't think I'll put blue next to that. I think we'll put a neutral. I sort of want the colours to have their own space, so I think that will be a neutral. And here's my piece to create the neutral one. So I will be back in the next video to do this, and I'll show you how these two have come together. All right, guys, look after yourselves. Have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.